when I put a lot of the evidence that we gathered from firsthand experiential knowledge and not just listening to YouTube videos or conspiracy nutballs, I think that this is a wonderful monument. I think that it is very Star Trek-y in that it's optimistic that humanity will survive, even if there's only 500 million of us.
Welcome back to the super show ever. I don't know what episode number it is this time. Our guest Sabrina's going to tell us. Sabrina, what episode is it?
This is episode number 889.
Perfect, 889. Sabrina, as I just mentioned, Sabrina's with us. Apparently, she's a Zen in the Car alumni, whatever that means. And Daniel Lewis Crumpton is with us. Daniel, start talking.
Of course I'm with us. This is my show. I'm the host this time.
Well, you weren't with us a couple seconds ago.
Well, my ass decided it wasn't time to talk, and so it hung up on the two of you, and so there you go.
And now it is time to talk. How are you?
How am I?
Yes.
How am I? How does one ascertain?
Do you
need a multiple? Right?
Do you need multiple choice, Daniel?
At this juncture, I'm going to have to ask for multiple choice, Dylan.
Okay. A, you're really, really good. B, you're really high.
It's A.
Oh, I was going to do...
It's A and B.
Okay. Got it.
It's A and B. I'm fantastic. I'm actually recording out in my backyard doing yard work with bare feet. Like spoiled rotten. Life is good.
Well, that's fun.
I'm getting a fire pit ready for later, doing my Zen thing, got some incense burning, looking at the sun. Yeah. Doing some Superist show with you. Completely non-obligatory too. Don't even have to be here. If I didn't want to be here, wouldn't have to be here. Don't want to hang out with you peasants. Wouldn't have to.
You are correct. There is no contractual obligation to be here.
Nope, not paying my bills. Ain't no ring on this finger.
Nope, we are all volunteers.
We are all here for fun.
We are
every one of us.
Yes.
So yeah, we do got Sabrina with us, and she is a Zen in the Car alumni. Dude, you went to college. You know what an alumni is.
I know. I was trying to be facetious. Like, really? Zen in the Car is so official that it has alumni?
Sabrina, aren't we?
We are.
Dylan, you're up in Yankee land, so you don't know the impact of the actual, the first, I don't know what you want to call it, the first 5-year mission of Zen in the Car. We made a pretty good impact here in Georgia, didn't we, Sabrina?
We did. A big one.
Yeah, we did. We mixed up a lot of stuff, and me and Sabrina have gone, before you read her official bio, Sabrina has been my longtime soul sister, friend, and rock, like for the past decade of my life almost, right? Damn, it's been a
I think decade. I'm the only surviving one, though. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, how many have you gone through?
There's been a lot of people with Zen in the Car or in my life, in my personal life.
Well, I mean, I was at a minute referencing the ladies, but I mean, you would know better as far as the rest of the Zen in the Car crew than me.
My reputation precedes me. Yeah, well, you know, women are great. They're like good stories, beginning, middle, end. You know what I mean? However, I think I've referenced you as just jokingly because here lately I'm on a Sherlock Holmes fix, but I've referenced you as Irene Adler. You know, the only person that could like keep up wits with me for as long as you have, for a decade. God, it's a decade.
I
Damn.
don't think I've known any. I've known one friend a decade.
What
So
is up with that? Why don't we keep friends anymore? That's that friend. That's that Facebook friendism shit.
I
Old
don't
Well,
know.
stuff.
I mean, the internet hasn't been around too long. I suspect a lot of my internet friends will be around for a decade. They just haven't yet.
I don't know. That's a different show. But
That
no,
is,
Sabrina was she was actually one of the first contributors besides myself and a couple other people. Wait, does that even sound right? I don't know. Anyway, she was one
okay.
of the first contributors to Zen in the Car. And whenever we were doing the whole a lot of a lot of activism in Georgia, and then ultimately Zen in the Car. I mean, we aren't as recognized for it as we should be, but we had national ripple effects, didn't we, Sabrina?
Oh man, the stories.
The stories that nobody would believe but you and me because we were there. Maybe a few of them will get out. But she's also the nicest witch I've ever known. And has the only witch I've ever met that hasn't tried to emotionally, spiritually, physically, or mentally destroy me.
I try not to mess with that shit.
You
Magic is
cannot.
scary.
Magic is scary.
It's
So
dangerous.
uh, that's my little introduction. And even though you and I have been on a lot of podcasts before together, it's really cool to have you. Like this is the first time on the Superist show, which I guess is like now that's the official podcast for Zen in the Car, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Like the
we
flag
have popcorn politics, but it's really just Zen in the car or Super
Superist
Show.
show. And what's cool is, and I'm going to babble for a minute, and then you can get to her bio because I'm running the show. I can do
Hmm.
it.
You
Yep,
can.
I got the button.
You do.
Got
Well,
the
no, actually, I have the button today.
Oh, that's right. I should have not overcompensated right there because anyway. Uh, no, it's funny because whenever Zen in the Car was conceptualized, it was conceptualized in the car, as a form of meditation, and that was way before everybody had a smartphone. I was using a razor at the time. So, now it's cool because the website's geared towards people who are driving a lot, like Sabrina and me. Like we travel a lot. So it's like the website is completely geared for you to operate it from your smartphone. And like now all my neighbors in my neighborhood are starting to listen to the podcast and they're telling me like it is so cool just to listen to you guys in the car because it's like it matches up. So it's kind of cool. Anyway, how it all Jason Patrick always used to say that I was always ahead of the curve. Now I don't know if that's true, but it looks like now technology is catching up to what I was trying to initially uh, do. But anywho, Sabrina was there for the beginning, and for this latest adventure on this Easter, Shavuot, Resurrection Sunday, she was on a recent adventure with me. So, Dylan, she has a professional biography.
She does.
Yes.
It's very
I'm
It's
professional.
professional. Let's be
I
real.
am no I am nowhere near qualified to read it, and
It's very, it's very fancy. So,
yes,
to keep with Zen in the Car's tone, I will read it in a mocking British voice.
yes, I'm all Upper Uncton, please proceed.
Sabrina Black, most notably known as Sabrina Mergenthaler, and for her appearance on Discovery Channel's Naked and Afraid, has inspired the world with her unveiling of her identity as a modern day witch. Diversified with a natural rebellious nature, Sabrina has spent years as an investigative journalist dedicated to uncovering untold truths about government, local officials, and law enforcement. Fueled by a passion for strengthening others and exploring the natural world, Sabrina has opened doors to teaching others, especially our young children, to find themselves physically, mentally, and spiritually through challenging adventures in a wilderness setting with Earthbend's Adventures. As an advocate for empowering women, she teaches confidence and practical primitive survival skills to women in hopes of encouraging them to feel safe and strong and conduct business and life coaching through her endeavors with Let Me Help You, the You and the Slang, a business development specialty company.
Wow, you really juiced her bio up. What'd you think about that, Sabrina? That was
I mean,
epic.
that was so cool. I was like, gosh, I feel like I'm on the Discovery Channel after all.
Dude, maybe I should get like some harpsichord Bach or something and just underscore that.
Yeah.
That's
Maybe I
awesome.
should start reading audiobooks.
Ooh, I like that.
Right. Hey, Sabrina, what you up to today?
Oh, you know, just hanging, working from home, doing my thing, business
Well,
developing.
business developing.
Business.
You want to? I'm developing businesses at home because of COVID. We all work at home now.
I'm sorry. Can we just go on record saying this has been the biggest excuse me all fucking year? Oh, all last year, this year?
No, no doubt.
I'm gonna struggle
So
with this new rule, guys. I'm
She
sorry.
lasted 10 minutes.
I'm sorry.
That's 10 whole minutes. It's okay.
Edit point.
So, anyway, Dylan, to catch you up to speed, we tried this in Serena, but it wasn't working because GPS took me through some country roads. But um,
It's taking a lot of restraint not to immediately bust down to country roads, take me home. I just want you to know that.
I know, man. That's been playing a lot lately. I know the epic version. It's epic. But
Epic.
no, so I knew I wanted to take a trip this month, and I didn't really know where. At first, I was like, I think I'm going to go to Florida to Coral Castle. I don't know.
Boring.
Well, I mean, yeah, maybe, but I got to thinking, and I was just like, well, I need to go somewhere. I just need to go on a trip, And I was like, well, last time I went to Coral Castle, I never went. I just drove by it. And then as me and my mom, like in 1994, as we were leaving Homestead, Florida, Hurricane Andrew was in our rearview mirror and caused damage. So I'm like, is that my fault? Maybe I should go back down there and patch that up.
Never come to my area, I guess.
I guess. I don't know. But it's a good thing I checked their website because they're closed because of COVID. So I was like, well, crap. Well, where do I want to go for this Resurrection, Easter, Ishtar, Shavuot, sex fertility cult day? Uh, you know, Andersonville Memorial Cemetery. No, been there too many times. Rose Hill. No, don't want to go there. So then I was like, oh, wait a second. I've been reading a lot of Sherlock Holmes lately, and I want a good mystery, a case, Dylan. And so I was like, well, what's not too far away?
What case have you brought to us today?
The Georgia Guidestones, also known as the American Stonehenge. So I was like,
I had not heard this before we went on air. Yes, I had.
I know, right? And what's weird is I live in Georgia and I have most of my life, but I've never been. But so I don't know. It just popped in my head. It was like this Easter, you should go do like your own little sunrise service in Elberton, Georgia, where these things are, at the Guidestones or the American Stonehenge. So I was like, okay, well, that's where I'm going to go. And I think I let you know in advance, hey, I'm going to go check this out. Here's some videos. Check it out. There's a lot of conspiracy theories about it, a lot of wild, harebrained, ideas about what it is, who built it, why they built it. Is it nefarious? Is it not? Yada, yada. So I packed my things and I booked my Airbnb, and then, as fate and circumstance would have it, going as Sherlock to decode the mystery, I watched a lot of documentaries leading up to it. Alex Jones has a documentary, and his slant, which is it's global depopulation, and then you got Brad Meltzer, who is from the History Channel, that did a decoded of it, and both of those guys have agendas. So I was like, I want to go see for myself. More importantly than just going to see it for myself, me being spiritually sensitive, which we'll get into with Sabrina, I wanted to feel the energy of the place because that's typically a good indicator. You could look at the place on YouTube all you like and make your deductions, but actually physically being there and feeling what that ground is like was important for me. So as it just turned out, Sabrina and I were texting, and I told her I was going up there, and she was like, hey, do you need some company? I was like, oh, that's perfect, because now there's a balance and a check. Like my intuition of the area can be checked by her intuition because we're both spiritually inclined. So, Bree, do you want to explain for people who'd never heard of the Georgia Guidestones what you know about the history, who put it there, why, and all that?
Can I just start this chapter of our little gathering here with this quick little? So I shared the images of our trip to the Georgia Guidestones to Facebook. And one of the responses that I got was actually quite hilarious because it said, that place really gave me an eerie feeling like I was being watched. And now, after having been there, You and I both know that there's got to be at least 10 or 15 surveillance cameras there and signs everywhere that clearly state you are being watched. So
Yeah, it's one of the
we
most
had a little bit of a laugh on that
It's
because you
so,
are being watched.
sorry. I just want to say it's one of the most vandalized areas in the
It was.
country. So of
Yeah.
course they're watching. It would be malpractice for them not to.
Well, and that was why they actually took the effort to install those cameras, is
Mhm.
because of all the vandalism that was occurring. And in fact, it has helped minimize it tremendously. I know that every time I have been there, it has been in pristine condition. So,
Oh, yeah.
agree or disagree about, safety and security and freedoms and all that jazz, but I'll take those cameras on some history any day of the week to ensure that it stays safe, versus having to deal with people potentially damaging it. Because let's be real, ignorance is what leads to that. You don't go and destroy history because you know what you're looking at. You do it because you're ignorant. Okay.
Confederate statues.
Let's stay to guidestones, right?
Just
So, and here's the harder part about swallowing that pill, right? Because these are the guidestones, right? And they do pose some sort of questionable, what do they mean? But at the end of the day, they're signed by somebody claiming to be Christ, right? Christian, RC Christian. I would think, us being in the Bible Belt down here, people would probably want to protect that more than not. But that has me wondering, um, is this not in line with Christian beliefs?
Christian beliefs, especially in the Bible Belt, are a really funny thing.
You're saying that to a witch.
I know. I know.
In Georgia.
Saying it to the right person, I think.
Right?
Christian beliefs in general are a funny thing because people just use Christian values to form around their beliefs.
Well, I mean, as far as somebody, I think I'm being watched. You think there's signs everywhere, right? And as far as that goes, I
I
mean,
think I'm being watched as I stare at 10 security cameras, catching my every angle.
yeah,
Right?
Here's your signs.
Not a great mystery, right, Sherlock?
Right, Mr. Case closed, Watson. Anyway, and I don't think it's a problem either because I mean, this is somebody's property. I mean, it's somebody's property, and regardless of whether or not you agree with the ideals or whatever you think, it's private property. We all have rights to our property. It shouldn't be vandalized. I mean, like the thing with the Confederate soldiers and the flags and the statues. It's like that's a part of our history, and everybody is the hero of their own story. There's a lot of people outside of the South, who've never heard the expression "the War of Northern Aggression." And they even get offended when you even say that. They're like, "Are you talking about the Civil War?" It's like, look, both sides have their view of why they believe that they were right. Now, I got no dog in the fight. I'm Irish. My people didn't come on the boat till after that was already done. I'm just looking as a historian, but history happened. And sometimes the best record of that history isn't in print because that can be changed. Thank you, George Orwell. But is when it's left in stone. You know what I mean? Because it's not easily changed. You shouldn't be defacing history, good, bad, or ugly, because the good, the bad, and the ugly is what allows society to move forward. But that's me getting really deep and philosophical. As far as like what the defacement was, a lot of these have to be, and I don't think fundamentalist Christians, Sabrina. I think these are Alex Jones acolytes because when it's vandalized, it's always stuff like down with the New World Order and down with the Rothschilds and things like that. It's not fundamental.
I would agree to that to some extent, but then you see some pictures that actually say things like Jesus will beat you, Satanist.
Well, I think there's a lot of melding of the Alex Jones types and the fundamentalist Christian types. It's one of the things that drove me out of these circles before, besides realizing they were full of shit. But
and and I'm not, look, I got no dog in the fight, but to be the advocate for the fundamentalist Christians, Alex Jones, especially in his early years, created his own amalgamation of Christianity.
Mhm.
Okay. He did. So, like, if you go down to the Southern Baptist Church or like the local independent Baptist church, they probably don't even know the Guidestones are there. They're certainly not going to go deface it. These are the people who are quote unquote woke that are just now hearing about, stuff that me and Sabrina have been talking about for the past decade. Like, they're just now getting to it. And they're so consumed with paranoia, fear, and a lack of true knowledge and a lack of true understanding that they have to attack what they're afraid of. And she knows all about that. She's a witch in Georgia. People attack what they don't understand.
Mhm. Yeah.
That was like a ham-handed segue to you, Sabrina.
Oh.
That's professional podcasting.
I mean, because I'll be honest with you, I don't know, maybe it's just my personality. I don't get harassed very much. If people have something they don't like about me, they tend to either keep it to themselves or something. Because, yeah, for a witch in the South, I actually don't get attacked very much by anybody. To be honest, I'm one of those people that gets along pretty easily, but I'm also, borderline known as a conspiracy theorist. For a while, I followed the Alex Jones until he got a little too extreme. At the end of the day, one of the things that I advocate for, especially in what I do with earthbends, is protection of the environment and our historical places. So when I see things like that, it sucks. It washes off, it displays ignorance. At the same time, I'm grateful that it wasn't a pickaxe that they took there, because we're going to come to a time where people take it upon themselves to do things like that because of what they believe in. And
Mhm.
I feel like maybe in part with what's going on, symbols like this bring us back to that, that
Which,
eventually we're going to be standing on a decision to make, either internally within ourselves or as a community, as a whole nation, whatever the case might be. Um, there might come a time where we have to choose what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow. And, it starts with defacing, is that an evil? I personally feel like if your ignorance shines, you probably can't withstand the future. So we might be doing you a favor.
it's kind of funny. Whenever you were just talking about a pickaxe, I was like, visualizing somebody with a pickaxe going at the English side, where one of the actual points of the Guidestones is, to rule passion, truth, and faith, I think, with tempered reason. It's like the imagery of somebody hitting that point with a pickaxe is kind of ironic, But,
Thank you. I got a chuckle out of that.
Yeah,
Right.
isn't that exactly what's going on there, though? People not
Right.
ruling themselves with tempered freaking.
Yeah, no,
Tempered reason. Yeah.
tempered reason.
So Bree, do you know much about the history of how this was built and all that? Do you know about the mythos of it? And if so, it would be so much more eloquent if you told it to the audience than I.
I'll be honest with you. I probably just read it right off of some of the Google pages you find, but in summary, it was what, back in the late 70s. Um, the pseudonym was R.C. Christian, who allegedly designed and had this built by the Georgia Granite Company. Isn't that who it is? I'll
I think
look. I'll go
I
look
think
up
it's
the page
the
right quick.
I think it's the I think it's the Elberton Granite Association.
There you go. So before I get any more history wrong, yeah, because I don't dive that deep into it. But here we go. They call it a mysterious monument, but I don't really know how mysterious it is. I mean, obviously they have a name. Somebody funded it. Somebody knows something.
Dylan, do you or
No, I don't. I'm a terrible podcast host. I didn't do much research beyond reading the points of the
jeez.
Guidestone.
Dylan.
Yes.
Terrible podcaster, Dylan.
Yes.
Terrible.
I have
okay.
claimed to be a good one.
Don't worry. I'm not going to focus on any kind of voices because I'll totally mess it up, right? I can't get a voice right to save my life. But I'll just read you what I
It's all
found, all right?
the voices
All right.
are all the voices are all I have. Otherwise, people will realize my points make no sense.
Yeah.
The voices are what tell me what to do every day. Without them, I would be completely lost.
Well, those voices are fine, right? And I can handle those ones because they don't go out loud. So it's
Right.
the ones that we're speaking out loud. We don't want to change up our accent or anything because I would totally mess that up.
Well, to tell you the truth, when we were talking about it before we started hitting record, my voice is in and out because of either pollen or breathing treatments I've been doing. And I have noticed that the only way to prevent it from happening, like my second puberty, is to actually do different accents. So I'm actually trying to keep from ah. So if I do a British accent or a Russian accent, I'm not trying to be cute. It's just my voice. But Sabrina, in your unhindered voice, read what the Google says about the origins of the American Stonehenge in Elberton.
All right, here we go. In June of 1979, a man going by the pseudonym of R.C. Christian approached the Elberton Granite Finishing Company with the task of building a monument. He said that no one was to ever know his true identity or that of the group that he was representing.
My
He seemed
stars, I never.
right, there's a group involved, right? Obviously. So, what group might this be?
This
Who
is so
deals in
scandalous.
stonework?
This is scandalous, my dear Miss Black. Continue.
That
Oh,
feels a little on the nose for them.
okay. He seemed to have an endless supply of money to fund the project, and by the terms of the legal contract, all plans had to be destroyed after completion and all information about him withheld from the public. In 1980, the stones were finished. They carry a tablet in the front proclaiming, "Let these be a guide stone to an age of reason." Engraved in the stones are 10 guidelines meant to reestablish the planet and society, perhaps after an apocalypse.
Apocalypse.
They are written in 8 different languages: English, Spanish, Swahili, Hindi, Hebrew, Arabic, Chinese, and Russian, and among other commandments, preach to maintain humanity under 500 million. Well, do we want to wait on these?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
we'll,
we want
we'll
to
Want to
back
wait
up.
on the points.
So basically, make sure we got it right. So this is basically the story, Dylan. You got this guy back in 1979. He goes to Elberton, Georgia, which these are just, you know, observations. He goes to Elberton, Georgia, where there is nothing but cow pastures. It's very high elevation here in Georgia. And he goes to this company. He's like, "Hey, dude, I need this thing built. Okay, and I need it in stone. It's going to be granite, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be huge." And this granite association is like, they thought the guy was a quack. They wanted him to go away. So they were like, let's just throw the biggest number that we think of. So they were like, $5 million, bruh. And RC Christian,
Was like, deal. I'll do it.
You know, you bring that up, and I feel like I read somewhere back in time that they gave him an astronomical number originally because they
yeah.
didn't want to do it. Am I
Yeah.
wrong in that?
No,
No,
that's right. Yeah, he paid exactly what they asked for.
yeah, they're like, okay, we got to get rid of this crazy. So I don't know, tell him whatever. And they tell him, oh, 50 million. Okay.
And he was like,
Wait,
okay. And he signed.
what?
Yeah. Yeah. So they were like, what the WTF?
Okay, if
All
this
right.
guy's got 50 million to blow, fine.
All right. So, like what we know so far is one, this guy doesn't want to be known clearly. So the code name of the Ceodium is a code. It's a cipher because me and Bree both, I mean, well, shit, anybody on the internet who is worth anything knows that there's always forethought, intent, and a little hidden Easter egg in a Ceodium. Always. Right, Bree?
Yeah.
Right. So we know that. We also know that this guy has backing. So he's from a group. Okay.
Are we
Um,
ready for a little bit more tidbit of information that I saw this morning from the Facebook post?
Oh,
of
sure,
course.
please.
Okay. So somebody interjected an idea that RC Christian stands for Rothschild.
How do you get RC? How do you get Rothschild from RC? R
They
child? Because
separated the word Rothschild.
uh,
They're
Yeah.
being
what do you?
they're being unoriginal.
Okay,
Is there
so
any backing for that though? I didn't even look into it. Let's see. Uh, Georgia Guidestones Roth.
You're going to find a lot of conspiracy websites just kind of asserting that that is true without explaining it.
all right, Dylan. Just for people who are not familiar with conspiracy theories, give a very quick summation of what the whole Rothschild family is.
The Rothschilds are a sort of legacy family. They're not super impactful in modern times, at least in front of people's eyes. They're a very rich family going back centuries. But yeah, they're at the center of most of these conspiracy theories. A lot of powerful families from previous generations are involved in these conspiracy theories. They allegedly control the world and a whole bunch of other stuff that, spoiler alert, I think is nonsense.
Spoiler alert. All right, Bree, what you got?
I was looking more into this Rothschild's theory. I came up with a couple of sites, but in just skimming them, they're a bit lengthy. So we'll just go back to this. This is fun for now. Okay. We're going to come back to the list of 10 things, right?
Yeah, we are.
Yes, we're going to
Okay.
cover all 10.
All right. So the
Now,
Guidestones also serve as an astronomical calendar, and every day at noon, the sun shines through a narrow hole in the structure and illuminates the day's date on an engraving.
Well,
Oh,
that's fun.
I
That's
didn't see
fun.
that. Did you
I didn't
see
see.
that? The
No,
date
no, I didn't see that.
Well, that's fun. I think
on
that's
an
kind of neat.
engraving.
But
Which,
but we'll get to like the descriptions of all of that stuff in a minute. But I think one of those chiseled out holes, probably the one at the angle, is the one that did that. Now that I think about it.
the names of 4 ancient languages are inscribed on the sides of the top cap. The Babylonian cuneiform. Did I say that right?
You
Yes,
did.
you did.
Okay. Classical Greek, Sanskrit, and Egyptian hieroglyphs. Additionally, an instructional tablet at the site speaks of a time capsule buried beneath the surface, though
Which
the
we will get
dates
to.
on which the time capsule was buried and when it is said to be reopened are missing. Whether this is intentional or the capsule was never buried is unknown.
Right. I would like to interject my theory on the name of the benefactor.
Please.
I mean, I am more of a. I don't. I mean, I don't like titles, but I'm more of a Gnostic Christian that practices Zen. Okay, because I believe that the person of Christ in the New Testament was a mystic, just like Buddha or anybody else. He just came from a particular culture. So being a Gnostic, Gnostics are more, we tend to lean towards allegorization of the scriptures, be it the 66 books of the Bible or any scriptures. We tend to lean towards logic and reason and firsthand experiential knowledge. Now, there is an order, and this is another faction of the conspiracy theories on what RC Christian stood for, is the Rosicrucians, which aren't necessarily a sect of Gnosticism, but Rosicrucians share many of the same ideas about mentalism and the cultivation of mental powers, or what we would call ESP, seventh senses, because everybody has six senses. Everybody, oh, I got a sixth sense. Dude, everybody has six senses. Your consciousness is your sixth sense. So anything beyond that is a seventh sense. Just, I don't know who I'm arguing with right now. I'm just arguing.
Okay.
But yeah,
Have fun winning your argument.
I think I did win. Did I win? You guys?
I think you did. I don't know. The other side had a really good rebuttal.
I thought they sucked. What'd you think, Bree? They didn't say anything.
I know it was a really powerful statement, especially in its brevity.
Especially in its brevity, yes. But no, I think that I think the RC does, not to join any bandwagon, but I mean, just because a lot of people think it doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong. I think he was a Rosicrucian, and I think that the organization that backed him and helped supply the money, I think that they were Rosicrucians, which I don't want to get into the history of the Rosicrucians and how it goes back to the Knights Templar and the eternal struggle and war between the Templars and the Vatican and the Jesuits and all that. That's not conspiracy. All of that is history. So we're going to put that in our memory, our brain attic, as backstory for what these stones are. Because in all actuality, there's a difference between seeing and observing, right? Does that make sense? You can see but not observe. So what you can have any conclusions you want with is it the Rothschilds, is it the Rosicrucians? But when I went here this weekend with Bree, my objective was, okay, what evidence do I actually have? And it's the stones and the site itself. So in all honesty, to come to a rational and reasonable conclusion, all I can do is base the intent, purpose, and perhaps origin of this American Stonehenge from what is there in front of me. Right, Sabrina?
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So that being said, I stayed in, and a lot of weird things happened to me on the way up there going, which could get metaphysical, but whatever. It was weird. I stayed in the Rose Room in Anderson, South Carolina. Now, maybe it's just me being a Virgo, but Anderson means son of God. It was Easter, which is supposed to be the day Christ rose. And the security code on the Airbnb I stayed at is the exact same number as my home security system. Weird. Okay. Now, in the room that I stayed in, the Rose Room, there was art from the family. I think it was from the daughter of the lady who owned the place. But all the pictures were like, I don't know, profile pictures, just different abstract art. But one was Stonehenge in stipple, which I thought was really weird. Yeah, so it was really weird because Anderson, South Carolina is like an hour away from Elberton, Georgia, right? So that was weird. So I wanted to be there at sun up because I wanted to see the sunrise at the Henge. And so Bree met me there. And we got to watch the sunrise. But the reason I bring that up is me being sensitive to energy, which I don't think is too metaphysical. I know Sabrina has the same ability, if it were, because we are spiritually inclined. And some of us on this call might not necessarily agree with that, Dylan. But you can go to certain places in nature and you can feel an energy. And Dylan, you've done it too. Have you ever been in like, I don't know, you've gone into a store or gone into a library or anything where the energy, like you didn't know what it was, you couldn't put your finger on it, but the energy or the vibe just didn't feel right?
Oh yeah, no, I've never discounted that you can have vibes and energy and stuff. I object to some of the more like the more, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know what word I'm looking for. I object to like, I don't know, literal magic, but otherwise, no, I have no objections to you can feel energy. I mean, you can tell, you have feelings, you have gut feelings about places. That's reality.
Okay. Now, that being said, I would also say that women or feminine spirited individuals are probably more sensitive to it than even me, because I'm awesome like that. I'm just saying, just saying. So, Sabrina, me and you were both on the site, on that land, in that environment. What energy did you kind of get from that place, from that area?
Gosh, I'll be honest with you. I did not get the feeling that everybody claims to feel when they go out there. I just felt like, stones.
Stones.
Yeah, it did not scare me. It did not give me any feeling of anything. I saw it. I said, okay, good stuff. I'm more compelled by curiosity than anything with these stones, and that's about it. That's what I feel.
Okay. What are you curious about? Like what's the main thing that is not pulling at your
Well,
yarn, your ball of yarn?
I mean, at this point, it's the legit history. I mean, and that's all it ever really is in any situation that we're looking at. You know, we only know that history belongs to the victor, right? That's all we know. It could be rewritten in any way anybody wants.
Hmm.
In this situation, we're looking at, you know, somebody or somebodies with a huge amount of money, and it begs to ask, just what can you buy with unlimited funds?
Yeah, no doubt. So I don't know. I mean, but when I went, using my senses, I thought the site itself was very beautiful. So visually, and like I've been to Andersonville, like I've made mention of Andersonville Memorial Cemetery. Whenever I go to that place, you can feel the sorrow in that dirt of the history that happened in that place. Like it's just you could feel the weight on you. When I went to the Stones, like one, it's a beautiful place. Now maybe it was because it was a beautiful spring day. I don't know, but it's a beautiful place. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Green grass, horses everywhere, rolling meadows. I mean, it's beautiful. It looks like a Legend of Zelda game. It's
And
really
if I
beautiful.
might interject with, you know, it's cared for. Somebody cares for that place. The
Yeah,
grass isn't just all, you know, up to your knees.
right. Yeah, and so I mean, and it's literally in the middle of nowhere. Like if you didn't know it was there and you were driving down the country road, it would make you pull over and be like, "What in the hell?" But I certainly didn't get any child sacrifice, Satanist worship feel from it at all. Right? Right?
I mean, yeah, I wasn't there, but
Right to the person that was.
Yes, yes, it does.
You know,
Sorry. I'm reading more about this, so I'm getting intrigued more and more.
I know. I mean, and look, dude. Like I've said previously, Dylan, and I've walked into the valley of shadows in the world of the occult. So I've seen places and altars and stuff like that. And when people are dabbling in the metaphysical, which there is no doubt, whoever put this thing here, they're spiritual people. So they were dabbling in some type of quote unquote magic system. And according to my definition, magic is simply a science or technology that you don't understand yet. It's all explainable in time, even telepathy and telekinesis and things. We're doing that with a little bit of technology now. You can get an amputee, put a certain kind of nodes on his head, and he can literally, with his mind, move a robotic arm. That's as close to telekinesis as you can get. It's only a matter of time before you learn how to do it internally. But I digress, and I love to digress because it means I get to say the word digress.
yeah,
Yes.
good word, good word.
Yeah, good word. But whoever put the thing here, they're definitely of a spiritual mindset. They are definitely thinking forward, like a long way. Uh, they certainly are passionate about what they believe because one, it's a lot of money. Two, took a lot of forethought to make this. I think Brad Meltzer called it a Swiss Army knife of stone. It's a compass. It's a clock. It's all these different things all up in one thing, right? So this wasn't some willy nilly. Hey, let's just put some stones in a cow pasture. This was with deliberate, focused,
I,
passionate attention and
Well,
I
intent.
highly doubt this is the case, but I would love it if this were just some rich dude who wanted to pull a prank.
you
It'd be
know,
great.
and I'm starting to wonder that, you know, the more we talk about it, I know you talk about how certain things were deliberate. So I'm reading this chunk of information that comes from the people who funded this, right? The bank that allegedly helped him fund this project, right?
Hmm.
Um, do you mind if I read this right quick? It's pretty interesting.
No, go ahead, please.
All right. So it originated when R.C. Christian was originally chatting with Fenley. Fenley is the granite company owner. Obviously, he did not take RC seriously. And so when RC had inquired about a bank situation that Fenley had trusted, Fenley turned him over to a man who is referred to as Martin. Martin is allegedly the banker for Elberton. Okay, so here's how this little blurb goes. The tall and courtly Martin, the only man in Elberton besides Fenley known to have met R.C. Christian face to face, is now 78, and this was written back in 2009. Fenley called me and said, "A kook over here wants some kind of crazy monument," Martin says. But when this fellow showed up, he was wearing a very nice, expensive suit, which made me take him a little more seriously. And he was well spoken, obviously an educated person. Martin was naturally taken aback when the man told him straight out that R.C. Christian was a pseudonym. He added that his group had been planning this secretly for 20 years and wanted to remain anonymous forever. And when he told me what it was that he and his group wanted to do, I just about fell over, Martin says. I told him, "I believe you'd be just as well off to take the money and throw it out in the streets into the gutter." He just sort of looked at me and shook his head like he felt kind of sorry for me and said, "You don't understand." Martin led Christian down the street to Town Square, where the city had commissioned a towering bicentennial memorial fountain, which included a ring of 13 granite panels, each roughly 2 by 3 feet, signifying the original colonies. I told him that was about the biggest project I had ever undertaken around here, and it was nothing compared to what he was talking about. That didn't seem to bother him at all. Promising to return on Monday, the man went off to charter a plane and spend the weekend scouting locations from the air. By then, I half believed him, Martin says. So now we're talking about their planning, and I sent you the link for this story so you guys have it, and there's a lot more detail there that seems pretty interesting, including the layout of the Stonehenge and all that. And I know everybody kind of jokes and calls it the American Stonehenge or the Stonehenge of Georgia. But so you can see a little bit more information on where all that comes from, right down to specific measurements. But it brings to mind, if this was something in the planning for 20 years and it was so carefully calculated, why was the site insignificant enough that it could wait to the last minute?
Yeah, that strikes me as very odd.
I know your theory says that Elberton would be a high point safe from flooding. Okay. But at this point, I have to wonder about that.
Yeah, that makes it sound like it was a lot more willy-nilly than, oh, it's a high point from flooding, so it'll be safe.
I would have to disagree with both of you.
And that's, I knew you would.
So, as did
I would
I.
have to disagree. I mean, they had honed it down to Elberton first. I mean, it's like a bullseye. So they knew they had to have it in Elberton because of the elevation, and I do believe that they chose it because of the elevation. Because back in before 2012, when I was in David Icke land, getting into all this stuff about there could be a possible pole shift and what is the Mayan calendar, why is the date of December 21st, 2012 popping up? I had a lot of people in my inner circles at the time, when I was coming from fundamentalist Baptist into Buddhism. I was making that transition. So most of my circle were Baptists. And this was when all this weird stuff was happening before 2012, where the trumpets were being heard around the world. Nobody knew what was happening with the Mayan calendar, what it meant. And so I was looking at pole shift. And, if there is some type of a cataclysmic event, this is not far-fetched. This happens to our planet all the time. Us with our insignificant 70 years on Earth can sit there and scoff at it, but the history, the historical record, the data from geology and archaeology shows that there is a certain time limit, typically 13,000 years, give or take, where Earth shuffles off a lot of useless dead flakes of skin, as it were. Okay, there's always mass extinctions about every 10, 13,000 years. Okay, so it's not far-fetched to think that there's the face of our Earth is going to change over time, because it constantly does. So if you look at the most recent models of, say, a pole shift or a pole adjustment or anything, most of your southern states are going to be underwater, except for Georgia. Now, when you couple that with the fact that me being, knowing a lot about the esoteric and the occult, which just means hidden stuff, there's a lot of occult stuff in the Bible. The Bible is the most occult book. But when you start getting into all that, and you know the history of our country and the fact that those were Rosicrucians that founded the 13 colonies under Sir Francis Bacon's guidance, and they chose these original 13 colonies based off the zodiac, I always find it very interesting that Georgia was chosen. Its capital is Atlanta, which smacks of Atlantis, duh. And then now we're dealing with these models where if there is a worldwide cataclysm, Georgia's going to be fine. So I disagree with you guys, because I think that whoever did this was looking at those models, because they're looking at a natural event coming, not a man-made or a man-instigated event, a natural occurrence. They look for a town that would be high elevation, but why count your biddies before they hatched? They honed it down to Elberton. I think finding the exact site in the airplane was just the final details. Getting
But it
That's
goes
fair.
on. It goes on to say that
damn
it was not found that day when he flew in the airplane. In fact, it was found, let's see. Well, it was found later, and it was with the help of Fenley and Martin. And I don't know if you knew this while we were there, but it's a 5-acre plot of land that he bought for $5,000, right, from Wayne Mullinex. So in addition to buying this piece of land, he then gave it back to Mr. Mullinex for a lifetime of cattle grazing rights.
Yeah, I did know that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool. So, I mean, that's what I think. So I think when you put those pieces together, that these people were, which we can start getting into the 10 points, because the first one is the main one.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Is, there are some theories that they were concerned about a nuclear fallout because we were in the Cold War, but me and Bree both looked at it. They emphasize in these points the word nature, over and over and over again. And I just think that that is what they were looking at, that in the event that nature will, because she will, do a reboot, then you're going to come to a place where that first point is critical. So, Sabrina, do you want to go ahead and read off the first point, if you have it in front of you?
Sure. The 10 new commandments, if you would.
I don't know if I don't think they're commandments. It doesn't come off that way to me. It comes off as suggestions.
The 10 suggestions, okay.
Yes, the 10 suggestions. That sounds a lot less scary. I like that.
Right? These are the 10 suggestions of the future. All right. So the first suggestion says maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature.
Oh boy.
People have really twisted this one around.
This one is the one. The first one is the one that is the lens that you look through the rest through, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Okay.
People have really twisted this one.
So Dylan, you go ahead and explain to us what the twisting of this is. In my opinion, it is twisting. But go ahead. What does it mean to them?
So
to the alternative media. What does it mean?
To the Alex Jonesites, it means reduce the population to 500 million and keep it there. But that adds way too much context to a frankly very blatant and literal statement of maintain. not reduce, not reach, maintain. It is assuming that we're already there.
Bree?
We got there somehow.
We did get there somehow. But if they were being overt with their suggestion and they were saying, oh, 500 million is the ideal population, why wouldn't they just go a step further and say reduce? I mean, they put in how much did they put in? 50 million? Be literal, guys.
Well, I mean,
you got one shot. You literally engraved it in stone.
Well, let's take this maybe back a notch, okay? Because we conspiracy theorize about who's backing it, and if that is the case, then wouldn't the goal of said backer be to keep division?
See, this has always been sort of my sticking point is, okay, if let's say that it is a group backing it and that it's their plan. Really stupid of them to put it out into the public, engrave it in stone, and say, hey guys, here's our plan. I don't know. It's always just, it struck me as weird. Why are they telling people?
Well, I mean, it's just like anything. I mean, if you've been a conspiracy theorist or even a truth seeker, you know that being a person spreading truth comes with disbelief. Nobody gets behind the person spreading the truth because they believe a word they're saying, okay? That's why being on this side of the coin, I mean, it's a much smaller population.
Sure, so. I was somebody on that side of the coin once, and still to a degree there, but I don't know, it's always been a weird, like, it's always been a point that I've never been able to answer. Why? I don't know. Do you have any idea why would they put it out to the public?
Yeah, absolutely, because it creates another sort of division. I mean, there's people vandalizing it. Why? Because they see what it is, or they think they see what it is. I mean, that's what it comes down to. You've got the people who think this is raised by Satan involved. You've got the people who think this is the New World Order involved. You've got the people who are all about protecting the history involved. Everybody has their own little hand in this now, which is doing nothing but creating division. And from that division comes anger, because people who don't understand, just like, let's say you're approached by somebody who believes in tearing down all these historical structures because it's so offensive on this flat earth, And then you have people like us who are defenders of true history, or just truth in general, Well, now there's hatred because we're idiots, obviously, right? We obviously have no freaking brains about us because all we want is education, truth, enlightenment, and some fucking history. Sorry. And other people want to tear that down. So it's a headbutt in any way, shape, or form. It's one more divisive piece among people to keep them separate, whether we believe in it or not.
Yeah, so that part, okay, I hear that, but it seems like a bit of a risky play to, like, okay, in the pitch meeting that they had where they pitched this plan, did nobody say, yeah, but why are we're dividing them by giving them more information on us than they already had? Seems risky to divulge their plan on the chance that it divides people instead of unites them behind the idea of stopping that, no?
Not if you're the Rothschilds and all about creating this division to create New World Order.
Sure, but they have to assume that it will create division instead of just, oh, we told them our plan and most people agreed that's messed up and we don't like that. I mean, it really seems like a risky play, and if you're planning this for 20 years, you'd think they'd come up with a better plan.
Well, now, I mean, if you go with the idea of RC Christian or a sect that is coming from a Christ school of philosophy, they wouldn't have a problem causing division because, you know, Christ himself said, "You think I came to bring peace? No, I did not. I came to bring a sword of division," basically is what he said. So, I mean, you know, and I'm not going to sit here and say that there are not eugenicists in this world who passionately and fervently believe in population control and eugenics.
Oh,
That is
they
not a
absolutely
conspiracy theory.
no, they absolutely exist. They're out there.
Absolutely exist. Now, if we take that to who is the poster child for modern day eugenics, my mind obviously goes to Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood. Now, Margaret Sanger was pen pals with Adolf Hitler. These were eugenicists through and through. These people advocated sterilization, specifically in black communities, and she had absolutely no problem whatsoever vocalizing her agenda in an uncryptic, unveiled way, and said that in publications and in interviews that their agenda was to exterminate the black weed. So that's a eugenicist. That's somebody who really is about population control. If that was the organization or philosophy behind these stones, then that first word, maintain, would have been reduced. Am
Yeah,
I? It
I
would have been
agree.
reduced. They would not have had a problem putting it there. They don't care. I mean, if they, and she was doing that back in the 30s, Margaret Sanger. So in the 80s, they would have had a problem putting reduce there. So that first point is the spectacle that you will look through. And these people who deface this monument, you know what? The word is maintain, maintenance. That means something that is already there, not something that needs to be done. So you people who've defaced this or are afraid of this, you are listening to Alex Jones and people like Alex Jones. You are not using your critical thinking. You are not using deductive reasoning. You have not been there. You're just repeating what you've heard. You are a follower, and that's sad. And maybe because of people like you, eugenicists might have a point. Not that I agree, just wanted to throw that in there.
Well, no idea, no idea. Well, most ideas um, have to have a kernel of truth or reason to them in order for more than two people to believe in them. Most ideas have to have
Yeah.
a point or two.
But it's like you said, the word maintain. Now I think of the word maintenance, which means it's like I have to maintenance my lawn. That presupposes that my lawn was here long before I got here. So whoever did this, they aren't encouraging a population or depopulation. They are looking forward to an age of reason, according to them, where at some point in history, the population, how many people did you say we have, Dylan? Is it 10 billion?
No, it's 8 billion.
8 billion? So
Mhm.
8 billion minus 500 million. Somebody calculate that. I'm not doing it.
7.5 billion.
Okay, so damn, you're good. You had that somewhere, didn't you?
We
No.
might want to put out there that these are rounded off numbers.
Round it off.
Well, yeah.
So I mean, with where this thing is at and what it's seemingly trying to accomplish, they were looking forward to, not looking forward in a good way, but they were just anticipating, as nature will have it, that's how many people are eventually going to be extinct after whatever event.
I'm sorry, can I just say that these guys are just doomsday preppers, like half of the conspiracy circles?
Or they're realists.
I'm just saying, ouch.
Or they're S- I think out of the three of us, there's one person that would still be alive to see the fulfillment of these stones. That's not me.
Well, I hope it's not me.
I kind of want to know, all right?
I kind of want to be gone before we find out.
Yeah.
I mean, let's look at it like this, though. I mean, according to this stone, if you're the guy fighting this stone, you're in a good place. You're already on your way to rebuilding the new world order.
Right. So, and evidently they think that number is creates peace and harmony with nature. Now, Bree, you're a witch, and nature is very important to your philosophy and way of life. What else can you pull from that first one? As far as like, do you think that's a good number for nature?
Well, I mean, where does that come from? I mean, did somebody discuss this with nature? You
I
know?
think they pulled the number out of a hat. They were sitting around, they had the Harry Potter hat, and they were just drawing numbers.
Oh. So it was the Harry Potter hat, not the what was that other guy's hat? You know, the Mormon hat. What was he digging into?
Oh, that's Joe
Oh.
Smith looking at gold tablets.
Oh.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
oh wow. Hey guys, I don't mean to interrupt this podcast, but there is a chipmunk and he is hip as all get out and he's looking dead at me right now.
That's a good reason to interrupt the podcast.
I know. I will
Party
name him
poppers in
Alvin.
the house tonight.
He's just like chilling out too. I'm gonna get him a red T-shirt. Anyway, the second one. Go ahead, Bree.
Oh, guide reproduction wisely, improving fitness and diversity. See, I like how they were kind of specific about this because
Continue.
it adds improving fitness and diversity. It doesn't say, guide reproduction wisely and leave you guessing what they mean by that. It says improve fitness and diversity. It doesn't say kill babies. I mean,
Yeah, yeah, they were very clear. See, they were very clear here. They realized, oh, we're engraving this in stone. Maybe we should be clear.
I, I wish you would have brought that up when we were there, Bree. I hadn't thought about that. It doesn't say kill babies, you douches.
well, at the same time, though, I mean, if you've got to maintain humanity, I mean, and that's why it gets twisted. Because how are you going to maintain humanity under 500,000 while you're guiding reproduction wisely?
Well,
Mm.
I
I'm going
mean,
to guide your ass right to an abortion clinic.
Planned Parenthood.
I,
Dylan?
no, I got nothing. I don't know. I'm sitting back on
Okay.
this one.
Okay, so
well,
let's take that first one a little bit deeper though, because it says maintain humanity. What defines humanity? Weren't we looking into definitions yesterday?
I would just first instincts. I'm going to say humanity is a double helix.
I feel like
strand.
that too.
Yeah. Which we'll get into with the Christian and Merovingian mythos as we continue, because I think there is a Homo superior, not like superior as in value, but I think that there's some DNA out there that's not just double helix. That's all I'm saying. I don't think
Well,
science
all
is.
I'm saying is, humanity also refers to the qualities that make us human.
Yeah.
So we're talking about maintaining humanity. That goes along with the core values that we want for our future. And
Yeah.
I happen to be one of those firm believers that if you can't coincide with the rest of the world peacefully, then there's really no room for you on it. Now,
Right.
the unfortunate part of that is having to embrace the fact that somebody has to be evil enough to do evil things for the benefit of the rest, for the good of the rest,
Gotta have a Thanos.
I would
So,
disagree with that point, but I don't want to go there right now.
oh, okay, we'll go there later.
We'll go there in another episode.
All right.
Um, well,
Next.
no,
So-
I got stuff to say about the second one, dude.
Oh,
You don't.
Hold your potatoes.
Guide
guide your reproduction.
Guide reproduction wisely. Improving fitness and diversity. So if we're still looking through the lens of this was a New World Order plot, I also this second point also smacks that right in the nose because humanity. Or wait, where?
No,
Okay,
we're on reproduction. But I
right,
think you're in the same boat as what I'm
right.
thinking. I don't know. We'll
Well,
see.
this couldn't have been put up by these crazy eugenicists because another part of their depopulation plan is singularity with AI. Okay, because once we go online, like and we already can do it. You can already upload your consciousness to the internet and all that good. They've been able to do that for a very, very long time. They're just now letting us know about it. That's all. But once you have singularity with machine and man merges its consciousness with AI, that's no longer humanity. And these people who are eugenicists, the Rothschilds and all these other, 13 Illuminati bloodline families or whatever, allegedly, that they're not humanists, man. They want to transcend humanity. So whoever put this here is like, no, humanity is actually a pretty good stage in at your evolution, or it's humanity is good, which I agree with. So I think that humanity word also indicates that these people are not malevolent towards us. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, this might be a weird thing for me, but even just, I don't know, I tend to not view things through a lens of malevolence unless given significant reason to.
Right. And another thing, okay, so we're on guide reproduction wisely. Okay, that does seem almost like be careful with your genetic offspring and your progeny. So is that anti-Christian? No. In the book of Genesis, okay, right in the very beginning, in the story of Adam and Eve, the main plot point of the book of Genesis, whether you believe it's allegorical, which I do, or historical, which I do, because they're not mutually exclusive to a degree, all myth is based in truth. But in that entire event that set off the entire epic of the Bibles, it's about two different genetic bloodlines. Remember, I mean, after the fall, what did this Lord God say? He said, I will put enmity between thy seed, talking to the serpent, and the seed of the woman. In the very first book of the Bible, a Christian text, you have the idea of good DNA and not good DNA. So is this second point anti-Christian? Not at all. Furthermore, if you go further in the Bible, it talks about, when you're partnering up with a mate, that you're probably going to have kids with. It says, don't be unequally yoked with an unbeliever. You know what I mean? You know what I'm
Oh,
saying? So the Bible even teaches this principle of be careful where you stick your wiener,
yes. Yes, it does.
right?
A
I
lesson we
mean,
should all take to heart.
the Bible's very explicit. It says, be careful where you put your pecker. I, I mean, most of the book of Proverbs is about that woman is a whore. This is the kind of woman that you actually want to have a kid with. Am I lying? Wait, neither of you've read the Bible, have you? One of you is a witch and one of you is an atheist. Christ.
I mean, I read it a long time ago, though.
But
Uh,
am I telling an untruth here? The Bible encourages improving fitness and diversity wisely.
I
So
don't know that.
sure. I mean, okay, well, just take my word for it and verify it later. So
I'm pressing X to doubt, as kids say.
we'll table that. So, I mean, I don't think that second point is whatever, malevolent either. So, all right, go ahead
No.
with three. Go ahead with three, Bree.
I mean, we guide animal reproduction wisely. We just fucking take their stuff out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we do.
Think about that when courts can sit there and be like, hey, you're too dumb to reproduce. We're going to take those abilities from you.
Right.
It doesn't come down to having to kill anybody. All it comes down to is snipping a few lines. Yeah.
And again, the key word is guide, not
Yeah.
control or rule. And they don't have a problem using rule later, but they chose the word guide.
Training.
Uh,
You're more
I
accepting of those words.
is that what it
They
is? They're
they
just
suggested you wear a mask until it became required.
are you playing
COVID
Beelzebub's
training's
advocate?
almost over.
All right.
All
Well,
right, number 3. Here we go with this again. Unite humanity with a new living language.
I mean, this one just seems like nation building,
Maybe
honestly.
they mean sign language. Oh, y'all
Oh
can't
man,
see
I'm
this.
screwed. I'm screwed if we have to do sign language.
I'm screwed if we have to learn any new languages.
Yeah.
I only
Sign
know
language. Can I
English
do sign
and
language
bad
with my
English.
shoulders? No, I really think this one's just a nation building policy. I mean, most nations try at some point to have a uniform language for their population to improve social cohesion.
Well,
Okay.
actually, one of the things that I was joking about, which is kind of a realistic situation, is, read into it a little deeper, a new living language. Well, have you been on Facebook, and do you have any friends from freaking India, Mexico, and God knows where else? I mean, they
Yeah.
type in their language, and sometimes it just looks like a bunch of squiggly lines. But Facebook and Google, thank them, and the Google guides, right? You push a button, boom, you know what the hell they're saying. It turns it into a language that you understand, like living language.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that AI interface constitutes living language, though?
How are you going to teach the world a new language?
If you're reducing it down to 500 million, I
Well,
mean,
And
depending
a
on
living language. A
I told you.
living.
Yeah, I
Living
told you
means
what.
it's changing, it's evolving.
Well, I told you what my theory was on what that meant when we were there. Do
Enlighten
you
the
recall?
rest of us.
yeah,
Okay.
come on.
I mean, my first thought when I looked at it was, if, and this is obviously I'm basing this deduction off of something I don't have any tangible evidence, which is that this indeed was put here by Rosicrucians who are mentalists and who believe in, cultivating the mind to extraordinary abilities. I think that this is talking about psychic abilities, communicating psychically, like the Betazoids from Star Trek, consciousness to consciousness. I think that's what it is smacking of.
Needless to say, I don't necessarily agree, but I don't have a better answer. I just don't think that's it.
I mean, we can also assume that there is no technology for Google to translate by the time whoever is intended to find these stones find them. So what do you got left? Look, this is my opinion. Okay,
Maybe
on
we're led there
something.
by aliens.
Well, all scriptures are about extraterrestrials. It doesn't matter if you call them angels or demigods. We're talking about off-world entities in any way you see fit. Now, my theory on ancient scriptures is this: if you don't have a smartphone, if a grid went down, if there was a pole shift and you're starting back from zero with just sticks and stones, and there are entities or beings out there in space, and there are, then the only technology that they can interface with to get a message is through the human biological computer. Now, I believe that some of these prophets and gurus and mystics who would go into altered states of consciousness in the past with, what they call the Kundalini energy, or getting their chakras balanced with their third eye, it's all an internal internet system. So back then, you could have got some guy up in a mountain, a prophet, a guru, a mystic, a witch, an oracle, who gets a transmission into their biological machine or antenna, the spinal column and the pineal gland, from an extraterrestrial. That's the only technology that they can receive it with, and so they write it down, and people call them prophets or kooks, but they're actually getting messages. So if we take all that and we go, okay, well, whoever's supposed to find these stones, or the group of people that corral here after a huge flood or whatever, they're not going to have Google. They're not going to have something in their hand to translate. So it's going to have to be the technology that's available, and that's the human biological computer system. Or am I way too medicated?
I
I
mean,
just feel
you
like we
might be
can
way too
rebuild
medicated.
Google if it comes down to it.
Say that again, Bree.
We can totally rebuild Google if it comes down to it. And
Sure.
honestly, Google makes so many billions of dollars. Do you think they're really not going to exist just because the fucking rest of the world doesn't exist?
Well, I mean,
I think the next planet is probably going to be called Google.
Well, that could either be really fun or horrible.
I know, right?
I'm still trying to
I heard
decide.
it's awesome work.
That could be a lot of fun, though. Will it have
But
YouTube? Will there be the country of YouTube?
there'll be a moon. One of the moons will be YouTube.
I
That could
think
be
it'd be a
fun.
lot like Gattaca.
Yeah.
Gattaca's a good
So
movie.
So that's just my thoughts. And also me being somebody who likes to study the Bible and everything, I could tell how a lot of Christians or Alex Jones Christians would look at that and go, oh, you guys are wanting to build a new Tower of Babel and unite the languages. Well, you know what I mean? So because Christians believe that Nimrod was an antichrist, a figure of the antichrist. I got my own theories, won't go there, but people who are familiar with the biblical text would look at this particular point and go, "Oh, they're trying to rebuild the Tower of Babel. That's evil."
Okay, I don't mean to take this off on a tangent, but it's a funny tangent, so that's fine. How did the name Nimrod go from this biblical figure to meaning dumbass?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I would speculate that it probably started with Christians who said he was a dumbass for thinking that he could create a stairway to heaven.
Yeah, because I mean, when people want to say dumbass, they sometimes say Nimrod.
Yeah, I think that's probably it, but who knows? So,
Oh.
So before we get to the next one, Dylan, I think we should pay a bill.
Ooh, yes, we should pay a bill. All right, we will be right back, but listen to this commercial from CanaSense.
And buy stuff from us.
That too. Yeah, but
right.
buy stuff, maybe.
We'll be right back.
Medical cannabis is now legal by telemedicine. Get the medicine you need by getting reviewed for a medical cannabis card. Contactless appointments available at canasense.com. For as low as $39, you can get reviewed for a medical cannabis card. That's canasense.com for a licensed medical cannabis doctor review. Canasense.com has all the information you need to get connected with a doctor. That's CANNASENSE.com. CanaSense is common sense.
Welcome back to the Superist Show episode. What was that number, Sabrina? Quick.
889.
Is it 889? Okay. So that was probably from CanaSense Total. I do want to make an announcement about that. We are doing college scholarships for CanaSense Total Wellness. We do them every other month in memory of two people selected by the CanaSense Foundation Board. And this March, we are doing the Marvin and Frida Kotler and Mildred Etheridge Owens Scholarship. So CanaSense Foundation is offering $10,000 in art scholarships for creative pieces of art. You all you have to do is submit a digital print of artwork. Your criteria is the art piece should either be a portrait of someone that's passed on or a piece of art that represents or reminds someone of a person that's passed. Their likeness must be included in the piece, can be any form of art, can be a collaborative piece with other artists. You can go to canasense.com, click on college scholarship for all the details and how to submit your art piece there. And also, Bree, you're also a member of the collective, are you not?
I am.
I think you were the first person I brought in.
771, I think. I'm like one of the early people.
What do you? I think you're the first person I ever brought in.
Well, that's what you've told me.
Yeah, you are the first person I ever brought in because you knew right away. You were like, "Oh, I see what this is."
Yeah.
Well, and how has CanaSense done you, dear?
Oh, fabulous, fabulous. We've had tremendous success with CanaSense, not just in the medicine, all the things that it's taking care of for us medicinally, but from the other half being a side business for us as well. Has been
side, yeah. And both you and I both are in Georgia, so we know what it was like in the days where you had to go under a bridge or behind a gas station or to some seedy neighborhoods to get a plant.
Yeah.
Remember those days?
I'll tell you what, times are so different anymore, to be where we were, what year are we in? What was it, 5-6 years ago?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we were, hiding in rooms, in bathrooms, whatever we could do, and now here we are, taking a toke before we go into this Chinese restaurant because we want to make sure we can get our money's worth,
Yeah.
So, and in, in a parking lot if we want, so.
Yeah, no doubt, which we do now all the time.
Exactly, because it's a norm. It's not, we don't feel uncomfortable. It is as equally unimposing as somebody smoking a cigarette. It's probably even less imposing anymore with where cigarettes have gone.
And yeah, and for us to, me and you specifically in this conversation anyway, for us to have gone from having to deal with unscrupulous people who probably sell dirt weed as their just chump change because they're more interested in selling other stuff, to now we're actually paying kids' ways through college. Shows a lot about the misconception of people who use cannabis daily. We are not unmotivated slackers. You know what I'm saying? We're very highly productive. We just need our medicine. And the cannabis spirit, I don't want to get off preaching about this, but the cannabis spirit is a uniting plant. It unites people. So anyway, that's CannaSense. We offer scholarships. Go to cannasense.com. Now, I know I sponsor a lot of people in. If you click on any of the links on Zen in the Car, the videos, I'll be your sponsor. But Sabrina is also a sponsor and a caregiver within the collective. So if you go to CannaSense to the sponsorship page, if you would like the lovely Sabrina to be your caregiver, simply put in her affiliate number, which is?
I think it was 771.
771, or you could just put in Sabrina Black. It doesn't matter. And we will assign you her as your caregiver. So, back to the issue at hand. These creepy, weird-looking stones. Which point were we on?
I think we were on point 3. I think we were done point 3. Yeah, we're on point 4.
Sabrina?
Oh, this is one we were talking about earlier. Rule passion, faith, tradition, and all things with tempered reason.
Sold.
Yeah. Who takes issue with that?
Sold. Bree?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
pretty good.
Some people might get their eye poked because of the word rule, but I think this is more of an individual suggestion. It's like, I have to do that. I'm very passionate. Yeah. I have a lot of faith and I have traditions. I need to rule that.
Yeah, steer yourself.
And I think that was a significant point that we had determined while we were out there, is that this is a list of both internal and external suggestions.
Individual and collective. Yeah. For the most part.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that one looks like it's in the bag. What you got on 5, Bree?
Number 5, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts.
I mean, unless you guys have anything else, again, sold.
Bree?
I mean, yes, but it begs to ask. I mean, this is one of those ones that's questionably collective. Or is it, personal? When it comes down to protecting people and nations with fair laws and courts, whose laws? Fair by whose opinion?
It depends on how you view the stones. If you view it as a roadmap for after a cataclysmic event, then whoever finds the stone, whoever finds it, determines what that is. I mean, it's impossible to know without knowing who made it and the intent behind it, what their definition of fair is, and frankly, whether their definition matters. To me.
Well, what I kind of glean from this is, who, in the event of some cataclysmic thing, the people who find these stones are going to be smarter than the average bears. One, they're going to, most of them who get there are going to know they're there. And it's almost like if the grid does go down, but there was one computer in a Faraday cage that had the internet on it, and you happen to be the one that find it, you would have a significant advantage over every other person on the planet. So to me, it looks like they're saying, okay, whoever gets here with these stones, and most likely with what's in that time capsule, because I'm convinced that there is one, you're going to have an advantage over the people. So you need to protect them with fair laws and just courts, because when has this type of thing happened last time? Well, it happened whenever the Roman Empire went into the Library of Alexandria, got all the world's knowledge and history, burned it to the ground, and they haven't ruled with just laws and fair courts. but that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where that one's at. We good on that one? I think
We're good.
Yeah, so we as spiritual people could just hope and pray that whoever finds the stones and digs up that capsule are benevolent and want to help humanity rather than what we had last time, in my opinion. So what's number 6, Bree?
Number 6. Let all nations rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court.
Yeah, I mean, they're envisioning a united world, I guess. I mean, I don't know. Where do you guys want to go with that one?
I feel like that's already what's in place. I mean, we are our own nation ruling ourselves. Where we have a problem is we're not resolving things in our world court. We're sending our troops into other people's nations and telling them how to live.
Yeah, our world court doesn't function because our world court gives immunity to all of the countries that would break international law. I mean,
Well, I mean, it from what I can see, it respects and appreciates sovereignty of sovereign nations. You know, resolving external disputes in a world court sounds a whole lot better than dropping atomic bombs.
yeah, I like
Okay.
that option.
But I don't know that guarantees that they wouldn't.
Right.
No, it
Well,
does. Nothing guarantees it. I mean, but I think you have a lot better chance of resolving it without dropping atomic bombs if there's a mechanism to do so.
right. And of course, the kink in the armor on this one, because it's a wonderful philosophy, but it also smacks of the last point, which is let's hope that whoever finds these stones and starts civilization anew are benevolent, because the where it could go south is, well, who makes up the court? Because then you have an issue, right?
Yeah.
Who makes up the court? The idea of a Supreme Court being one of the checks and balances in our current republic is great until you fill it with Jesuits. You know what I mean? Sorry, Jesuits, but I don't think you guys are cool with what you do. Just saying. So I don't know. Anything else on 6?
No, I think a lot of these points are going to boil down to, well, let's hope the person who rebuilds is benevolent.
Right. What you got on what's 7, Bree?
Avoid petty laws and useless officials. I think that's just good advice.
Yeah, so don't criminalize drug use, and don't be corrupt, annoying assholes. No
all I got,
objection.
all I got from 7 or for 7 is amen. That'll preach.
Yeah, no issue.
Yeah. Doesn't sound like Margaret Sanger or Bill Gates so far, but what you got on 8, Bree?
Balance personal rights with social duties.
Oh, this one's gonna make a lot of people upset.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I agree. I think I'm definitely more. I am less libertarian than I think either of you probably are. So I have no disagreements with that. There needs to be a balance. You have to.
You mean liberal?
Yeah. No, I'm less libertarian than you guys.
Less?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you said more. I was like, get out of here.
No, less libertarian than you guys. If I said more, then I meant less.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bree, what do you think about this one?
Well, I know we discussed it a little bit while we were on site. I think you get my concern. We already have this awkward, and I hate saying that it's awkward, and I hate using the word hate because I really don't. It's awkward because it needs to be. This situation or this, I don't even know that that's politically correct or whatever, but people are changing their sexes left and right. Let's just put it out there. You've got people who are doing it for questionable reasons, and then people who are just legit really want to be the other sex, which fine. I'm not here to judge you, right? And that's about the balance of my personal rights and social duties, because at the end of the day, am I supposed to feel comfortable or put myself in check when a dude who's in the midst of becoming a woman decides he wants to use the little girl's room, you know? And I mean, it goes beyond that. That's just one of the easiest examples that's out there right now. But, you know, when it comes down to balancing your personal rights, what exactly does that mean? Does that mean keeping your mouth shut because you don't agree with something? I mean, because that's dangerous. That's dangerous. When we stop saying that, hey, there are some things here that's not cool or that's not kosher, whatever the case might be, you know, it jeopardizes our values and our well-being.
Dylan?
No, I mean, leaving the example you gave aside, because that's a much larger discussion, that yeah, there's a balance. I think there's a reasonable expectation. My general rule is I'm not going to be an asshole. So I remember, to use partially your example, I remember people were getting into a frenzy over, oh, I don't want to use that type of pronoun. And it's like, okay, but why not? Does it really hurt you? I mean,
Right.
that's sort of my philosophy is if it doesn't hurt you, if it doesn't negatively affect you, what does it matter? And if it does negatively affect you, okay, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do here. Let's find a balance. That's sort of my stance. Let's find a balance that makes everybody happier.
All right. Well, that issue is. I'm not even going to touch it right now because I
Yeah.
could go off on that issue. So, but
Yeah, let's not touch that.
the good thing on point eight, I think, is that they acknowledge that we have personal rights, and if they do, that
Mhm.
means that they're probably of the philosophy that my rights or personal rights ends where another's begins.
Yes.
So I know that the Alex Jonesites and the alternative media are looking at that word social and they're automatically putting the word ism after it.
And I'd like to point out that they're misunderstanding the definition of the word while they're putting an ism next to it and then immediately
Right.
thinking communism.
Right. Now I believe in personal rights. Everybody knows that. I believe in personal rights, but I also believe that I do have social duties. Now, and that's because that comes from my philosophy and my way of living and my spirituality. It is my duty to assist my fellow man. It is my duty to, if I have something and it can help somebody else, it's my duty to assist people. I could be negligent in those duties, but I feel compelled by my creator, Stan Lee, that you get so you can give. Okay.
Yeah.
So I feel that these things are duties for me. It's duties for me to help, give little old ladies a hand with their groceries or things like that. It is my social duty. But I don't believe that I can mandate what I feel is a social duty onto other people. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have a problem with this one either. I think that anybody who does is just they're listening to Jones and any other alternative media that, and they've already have a foregone conclusion of these stones, so they see the word socialism.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can see any of these as bad if you read into them through a certain lens. And let's be honest, most people who are going to read these are coming in through that lens.
Most, yeah. So
Yeah.
number 9, Miss Black.
Prize truth, beauty, love, seeking harmony with the infinite.
Again, sold, no objections.
Bree?
Yeah, I got nothing.
I mean, amen. I mean,
Yeah.
all three of those things are again in the eye of the beholder, and harmony with the infinite. I think that's a really nice way of saying God. However, a God of your own understanding. So I have no problem with the verbiage nor the idea. So number 10.
Be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. Leave room for nature.
Don't expand. Don't do exactly what we've done. Again, no objections.
Bree?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I said this when we were on the site. What is cancer? Where does cancer thrive? In an acidic environment. I mean, it's like, don't be a douchebag. Don't
Yeah.
be a toxic person. You know,
Mhm.
if you're toxic and you're a douche, and I've been guilty of that before. I'm not, whatever. I'm making progress, not perfection. But
No,
don't be a
nobody's
douche.
perfect. Nobody's
Yeah,
perfect. We're all working on it.
yeah. It's like, don't be a douchebag to people. And you know, I
Yeah.
have no issues with really leaving room for nature. You know, um, the outward nature that we get to enjoy, and the inward nature. So I don't have a problem with that. Be alkaline, be light. So now we're done with the 10
I,
suggestions.
I feel like we're gonna get a lot of flack for going through this and not being scared the whole time.
About the
Well,
suggestions?
Yes, about the suggestions. I think people are gonna be a little confused. Most videos on the guidestones are gonna be very conspiratorial, very scared, very
I
you should be
tried. You
afraid.
guys kept shooting it down. Like,
Well,
no, but
yeah.
I mean, so overall, I when I put a lot of the evidence that we gathered from firsthand experiential knowledge and not just listening to YouTube videos or conspiracy nutballs, I think that this is a wonderful monument. I think that it is very Star Trek-y in that it's optimistic that humanity will survive, even if there's only 500 million of us. You know,
I think that's
And
a big number.
Yeah,
I think it's a big number.
500 million, to put that in perspective, if I'm not mistaken, is the entire population of America plus the entire population of Western Europe.
Yeah, and they could all fit in Atlanta comfortably. So I will be visiting this place frequently, um, because I found it very well. For one, for me, just recharging. I love the energy of the place was great. The message is great. Uh, it stands as a monument to somebody's forethought, passion, and optimism. You know what I mean? To me.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that view of it.
Couple of
Uh,
other little details or addendums is Bree, do you think there's a time capsule?
I mean, until somebody interjected the idea that there wasn't, I was ready to go out there with the freaking pickaxe.
but not to attack the monument like some people.
No.
No,
But I
no,
want
no,
to know.
not after the monument. The
I know.
capsule is allegedly under this slab here, which I feel like that is very easily recreated. So
Um,
even if, I dig it up and there's nothing there, they can put that back together real easy. Like,
yeah, I do think there's a time capsule there. You don't go through the trouble of spending that much money and say there's a time capsule unless my theory is correct and this is all one big prank.
Well,
that'd be like a worldly freaking prank.
Oh, I think it would be hilarious.
it'd
It has
be a
scared people
great
for decades.
it'd be a great prank, but I was not around with $5 million back then.
But come on, if you were that rich, you would do something like this.
I would, but yeah, I find it funny that they unveiled this the year I was born because I have a God complex and it's all about me. And anyway, I'm just saying. But I think that there is a time capsule, most certainly. There's a time capsule because, duh, you wouldn't do all this stuff and not put a capsule there. I think the only reason to entertain the idea that there's not is because there's not a date there. However, for me, that means that this is certainly somebody with a biblical knowledge, because somebody with a biblical knowledge would not do that. Because the Old Testament clearly says, the New Testament too, if you prophesy something and it doesn't happen, then you're to stone the person that did that. So fundamentalist
That
Christians
seems
are
a bit
people of
extreme, guys.
back Old Testament, but people of the book unless you're a cult leader like Harold Camping, people who actually read the Bible and take it as, the authority of faith and practice, they do not set dates. To them, that is anathema. You do not set a date. If you see somebody pulling a date out of the Bible, that person is not a believer in what's in that book. They are a cult leader. So to me, them not putting a date is them being just as honest as their Messiah, Christ, who said, of that day and that hour, no man knoweth, not even him, only the Father. So that's what also reaffirms my belief that this was somebody of a biblical perspective. They would not put a date there because they don't know, and nor would they try to make any conjecture. But when me and Bree were kind of looking at it, doing our Sherlock and Irene Adler thing, it's like 6 feet underground. And it was like what I thought or what I think is in that time capsule, at least this one thing. There's probably a bunch of other things, but I believe that it is detailed instructions like a brand new constitution for the 10 suggestions that are on the stone. I think it's more broken down and articulated documentation for this new civilization to reboot. And that's probably what is in that time capsule.
There's old high school pictures in there.
Twinkies. Got to be Twinkies.
Oh, Twinkies.
Maybe like a mixtape.
Ooh, a mixtape.
Yes. The Guardians of the Galaxy mixtape. No, that wasn't out in the 80s. Crap.
It doesn't. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has 90s.
Does it? Oh, wow. I'll have to check that out.
I think.
So, I mean, that's what I think it is. I think these stones are great. So, Bree, you having been there, what is your overall impression and assessment of the American Stonehenge?
I mean, I love it just for the fact it is mysterious and it does add this bit of mystery, and it's nearby. But I don't know. To know all the truth behind the mystery, I would like to know that more.
So anyway, it was a pleasure to see it for myself. And thank you so much, Sabrina, for showing up and lending me your witch abilities to decode this mystery for myself. I believe the Stonehenge of Georgia is a good thing. I think that it will probably be useful one day. And thanks for showing up on Resurrection Sunday with me, because it would have just been me and my little Captain America beanie baby if you hadn't have showed up. So is there anything you want to plug, anything you want to promote, anything you want to say before we let Dylan eject us from this one?
Not on this one. Yeah, go look at some really cool videos that I enjoy making.
Where?
Earthbending Adventures on YouTube. You can see all the fun stuff I do.
Yes, go there.
Well, we're hoping to have more. Let's hope to have more adventures in the future, Bree. I think we're supposed to go see some Freemasonic stone up in some mountain next, right?
Oh, sure. You want to go to that?
Of course I do. Masons.
Okay. I can show you where their lodge is, too. We can go knock on their door.
Now, you remember the last time we walked into a lodge? It ended rather messily.
Stared at.
We had one of the Zen in the Car team members have to go to the ER that day, but that's another story. So thank you, Bree. It was cool having you on the first Superist show ever. We hope to have you back more and more and more.
The first
Dylan,
Superist show ever. And we've done a bunch of Superist shows.
No, this is her first Superist show ever. Is what I meant.
Okay, got it.
So she added a little bit of class.
I was about to say, you're trying to erase our history after this entire show talking about not erasing history?
Well, that's what one does when they are in denial about certain things in their history, isn't it, Dylan? I want to go wrap it up.
All right. That will conclude the Super Show Ever, episode 889. Stay tuned for the next episode.
Hail Satan. That was a joke. All right, guys. Later. Enjoy your night.
Later, too.
Bye.
Bye.
Sabrina Black, most known. Hold on, I'm sorry. I need edit point.
Hold
How
on,
do
let
I
me
say that? Sabrina Mergenthaler?
This is why I call her
Mercantile.
fucking Sabrina Black.